Okay, so it looks like we've got regression lines for our piecewise functions, and we just need to restrict the domains on each segment. The first thing we're going to do, this is in piece 1 here, is hit enter, make a new line, and we need to type this as an equation. So I'm going to type just in y equals form. Y equals 144 is the slope, as I can see up here from the regression, times x, and then plus the b value here, and that graphed right on top of the one that was already there. By retyping it as an equation or a function, I'm choosing equation because if I do function, I just don't want to have the same name for all of my functions, but I could do like f, g, and h for my 3 pieces, and that way they're in function notation, or I can just use the y. It's okay. Now, I need to determine where I would like this to start and end. For an initial thought, I'm going to use my table values, and I'm going to say I want 0 less than x less than 3. Now, I need to turn this regression line off, and then I'll be able to see that this one has been shortened to going just between my points. Now, I'm not ultimately going to end it there at 3, but I just wanted to give an example. Now, in piece 2, let me go ahead and do the same thing. Y equals my slope, negative 259x, plus 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, looks like. Turn off the regression, and then I'm going to start with restricting the domain between the data values, so 4 less than x less than 7. Okay. Now, the problem with just using those data points is that I now have this gap here. So I would need to shorten that gap. Let me turn my regressions on for a second. And I could either have the purple line continue all the way until 4, or I could have the blue line continue all the way until 3, and then have a jump, or I could try to meet them somewhere in the middle. So they look like they would intersect nicely here at about 3.7. So let's see what it looks like if I make this go to 3.7, just for example. Let me turn off the regression again, and let's see if, ooh, now that's looking really nice. Now they don't actually meet there exactly because 3.7 is a rounded value, but it looks visually like they do. So rounding to one place like that was sufficient. If I zoom in close enough, I'll be like, oh yeah, there's a tiny little gap, right? But it doesn't matter. We can have gaps. We could even have the bigger gaps if we wanted to, but because they were going to meet nicely there in the middle, it was nice to have no gap. On the other side, we're definitely going to have a gap because these two functions don't meet beyond that first data point, right? Because this data point, we've got some overlap right here, which I'm actually not sure why. We'll have to think about that. You should not be able to have 7 with 2 different output values in your data. So I don't know what happened there. You may have to investigate, but your data point should have been either the same exact thing or should have skipped over to 8, and you'll have to figure out why that occurred. It's not a function if you have 2 different outputs for that single input 7. So you'll have to fix that. One last thing about this one is that you need to choose one of these to have the equals. It doesn't matter since they are equal to each other at that point. So let me just put the equal bar on the first one, for example. And I'm going to go back and put the equal bar on the 0 here as well. So I can go from 0 up until, and then I'll go from, and then I have not yet figured out how to distinguish where that jump is going to be. I leave that to you. It gives us an idea, hopefully, of what needs to be done. Turn off that regression line again. Okay. Thank you.